Okay, check out this little video that I just ran across. Of course, we know it's election season. We know that all this confusion is only because the leftists are threatening us with violence because they can't win it. They can't win the election peacefully, doing things the right way. So they have to threaten people and threaten the election and threaten the United States and everything. So this is what's happened. It's only because of the election. We know that. We know that there's paid operatives all over, causing confusion, which, of course, after the fact might be too late if they convince people and threaten people to vote the way they want them to vote. Okay, so this is just a little bit of informative video as to what's going on. Hello, McDropout. How you doing? Hold on a second. Maybe I'll talk to you if you want to talk. But let me just show this video first. There we go.
And violent left-wing agitators continue destroying historical monuments across the nation, including those dedicated to African Americans and those who fought against slavery. One America's Pearson Sharp has more.
The radical left movement to destroy America's heritage is in full force in recent weeks, with militant protesters turning their attention to tearing down historical statues across the country. They claim their goal is to remove racist monuments from public places, but in their ignorance, they're also destroying statues dedicated to abolitionists, black heroes, and even freed slaves themselves. In Boston, thousands of protesters swarmed the streets, attacking the Robert Gould Shaw and the 54th Regiment Memorial as a piece of racist history. Ironically, the monument is dedicated to the 1st Black Volunteer Regiment of the Union Army in the Civil War. After President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, 1,000 black men signed up to fight for their freedom, and the monument is a tribute to their struggle. And in Duluth, Minnesota, amazingly, protesters also vandalized the Clayton Jackson McGee Memorial, which was dedicated to the memory of 3 black men who were lynched after being wrongly accused of rape. Even a statue of Mahatma Gandhi was defaced outside the Indian Embassy in Washington, D.C., and in Denver, Colorado, a memorial for the victims of the Armenian genocide was vandalized with anti-cop graffiti. Protesters also defaced and tore down statues dedicated to those who fought for the freedom of slaves as well. In Philadelphia, rioters turned their hatred toward the statue of abolitionist Matthias Baldwin, spray painting colonizer and murderer on the monument. Baldwin was actually an outspoken critic against slavery and fought.
We got a serious problem with people not learning history or not teaching history in the schools. This is just a travesty, that people don't even know, have no clue as to what they're doing because of, leftist takeover attempt,
Black Americans to vote. In Wisconsin, rioters destroyed the statue of Hans Christian Heg that stood in front of the Capitol. Heg was an immigrant from Norway who became a vocal critic of slavery. He fought in the Union Army and was killed leading a charge against the Confederates, literally giving his life to fight for the freedom of African Americans. And the protesters tore down his statue. Another statue of a man who fought against slavery was torn down was that of Ulysses S. Grant in San Francisco. Grant was given a slave before the war, but freed the man in less than a year in 1859, claiming that slavery was a stain on the Union. Grant then went on to help defeat the Confederates, fought against the KKK, appointed African Americans into high-ranking government roles, and is now known as one of the greatest champions of African American civil rights, including helping pass the 15th Amendment, giving blacks the right to vote. Even a statue of President Abraham Lincoln in Boston is under attack, with protesters claiming it's racist. The statue features Lincoln standing over a freed slave, urging him to rise up, and holding a copy of the Emancipation Proclamation in one hand. And, according to the National Park Service, the statue is a copy of one in D.C., which was paid for entirely by freed slaves. It's not clear where the line will be drawn for these violent, destructive protesters, or why Democrats and Republicans alike are not challenging them. But in their ignorance, they're destroying not only the history of America, but the history of key figures who fought to protect black rights. Pearson Sharp, One America News.
Yeah, this is really bad. It's a stain on America, and it's because of the leftist takeover attempt, and it's a very serious thing, and they need to be exposed. And of course, this is not mainstream media stuff here, so we need to really try to get the word out as best you can that what's going on is only because of the election. They want to take over. And as if OAN is not a reputable news source. Would you like to talk about it? Would you like to join the stream? Um, it is a takeover attempt. It only happens, when some, you know, you know, person of value and moral character, you know, is put into office. And you can try to say that Trump doesn't have moral character, but that's relative to what's very immoral. And of course, if you look at it that way, Trump is a saint because he's the only president in all of our history, in recent memory, that has actually accomplished and sought to accomplish what the people actually wanted and voted him into office to do. No one else ever kept their promises the way Donald Trump has to the people that elected him. So if nobody wants to join, then talk about it, then I'll just go ahead and shut it down. See, they set up their own country in front of the White House. A pathetic attempt. Yeah, it's basically anarchy, but I mean, it's only to cause trouble and then to blame it on Trump. You know, cause a cause a confusion. You know, get people all alarmed and everything, and then blame it on Trump. It's a it's an attempt to take over, another takeover attempt, not unlike the previous takeover attempts of the previous administration, and attempt to reverse the election results all this time, and it hasn't stopped until this day, and they're still trying to overturn the results and change the outcome of this next election. That's all it's about. There you go. Saying they'll chop off your head if you don't agree with them. See, it's a violent takeover attempt. They're threatening people. They're threatening Americans if they don't vote leftist. Of course, if you if the leftists do win, then everything will return to an appearance of normality until they take all your rights away, and then there'll be no more America. It's a desperate attempt to keep control. Exactly. See, so I'm not even saying what some strange idea that's going through my mind. I'm echoing what everybody else is seeing.